This is Soraya Altana. I'm a life designer, and you have the power to change in an instant. Yes, we are going live on Facebook, and welcome to this new episode of Success, Love, and Fulfillment Secrets. I am here with a dear friend that you cannot miss today, and that you cannot miss to listen to. Her name is the amazing, the one and only Roya Mattis. So Roya, welcome to the
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Woo. So if you're connecting, if you're here, let us know that you're here. Post it in comments. We'd like to make this a participating time, and we get to answer questions. We get to talk about the needs that we all have. And I want to let you know what is it that we're talking about today. And it is the tax that independent women pay. So this is a very critical subject. If you are a woman, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a successful woman and you want more of your life, this is definitely for you. And I'm going to introduce to you Roya. So who is she? Who is this amazing woman that we are going to share with? And she is, well, first of all, she's a phenomenal human being. She's a beautiful soul. She is a dear friend of mine, but dear person that she has, really a dear woman that has really showed me how to embrace a lot of myself. And I met her at a time when I was in amidst all of this transition that I've been going through, and she has given me a hand. She has a career with a amazing brand of cosmetics, Mary Kay, and her career in indirect sales has taken her to achieving a level currently held only by approximately 225 women nationwide. So she's a big shot. You're not talking here just to anybody. She has led her organization to top 20 and top 10 for 6 years before she was promoted to her current position, and she has participated in over 600 hours of immersion and training with Tony Roberts, Bernard Burchard, and other very key players. So she's got a lot under her belt. She is a great mommy, and she is a phenomenal woman that has a tribe, the She Tribe, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about that. But the core of the matter that we're talking about is what's in her heart is teaching, showing women about the third revolution, and we're going to go into a little bit of detail. So Roya, now officially welcome to the podcast, to this episode, and thank you really for being here. I'm really excited what's going to happen through what you and I are going to do here.
Well, I'm just so excited that we got reconnected. You guys, I met Soraya at a Tony Robbins self-improvement event, and it just goes to show you the character that she has, always learning, always growing, always wanting to give. And you just showed up with such love in your heart for women, such passion, even back then, that is no surprise this manifested into something that you are pouring your life's effort into. And I'm just so grateful that I get to be a small part of this this big thing that you're doing. Yeah, in helping women.
Yay, thank you, because I realized through my own journey, and if you don't know me, my name is Soraya Altana. I am a life designer, and I am somebody that works with people to take them from where they are to where they want to be. I am a life designer. I redesign the interiors of entrepreneurs, and my journey was one with a lot of turmoil in the last 6 years. Well, not the last 6 years ago, where I was in a dark place in my life. I was separated, and I just didn't know where to turn and where to go, and all I could do was hide under the blankets and try to get some help. I couldn't find it. I didn't know where. Now it's a different story. And if you're here, if you're a woman, if you're listening to this, know that you have here two amazing, yes, I finally can own my greatness and say, yes, we're two phenomenal, amazing women that we want to inspire you to rise, because this is about you. This is about you as a heart of a woman, to being able to say, wherever my life is. You might be, I say, in the basement or the penthouse. There's always a level, a new level that you can go to, right? So,
Right.
what do you think about that?
So today we're here talking about the tax we pay as a high achieving woman, right? And so I'm Roya Matis once again, and I created this movement I call she-ness, embracing the freedom of she. And the premise is about fully unifying. And whenever there's a challenge, I believe in always starting with self. And so in this movement, it's about self acceptance, fully unifying all of who you are. And I'm going to share with you what I mean by that in a moment. And then once you fully love self, you can more unify with your sisters, because biologically we were actually designed to commune. But as modern time went on, we began to separate, and especially the plight of independence that everyone talks about in the United States is actually so incongruent to what we were biologically born to do. And I actually resisted that for a very long time. I grew up with three brothers. I had mostly all guy friends. And when I was introduced to the direct sales company, I'm a part of this all women, I thought, oh, I do not want to hang out with women. So the last thing I wanted to do was to have more women in my life. And what I have found, Soraya, is that there are, in healthy female relationships, there's something that we just can't get any other way. And then to fully unify with our men. So in coaching women, particularly, and men too, but particularly women, in the last 19 years, I've seen a pattern of, we are in this incredible time where we should be able to have it all. And yet, on average, we are still feeling the stirring of discontent. Like, I know I should be happy. I know this should be enough, but I'm still feeling guilty as a parent. I'm still not receiving what I really would love to, feel completely passionate or fulfilled with my intimate relationship with my partner. And I just am not satisfied, and I don't know why. And so can I just share like a quick moment in time of what bred this to me?
Absolutely.
I'm so
This is
passionate about it.
we want to hear about you, girl.
I don't know if you guys have ever experienced something like this. And with the permission of Noah, who I've been with for 24 years, in looking to help as many people as possible, I'm going to share my truth with you right now. So it was about 6 years ago, and I was in my office working late again, which happens to be positioned right next to our master bedroom. And this particular time, and many, many nights before, it seemed to become a pattern that I didn't necessarily have to work as late. But as a working mom, sometimes you got to get a few things done after your kids go to bed, especially if you're present with them after school, etc. And so I was working extra late. And I walked out of my office, and I walked to the double door entry of our master bedroom, and I listened in for that familiar deep breathing and sometimes snoring sound that identified that good, he was asleep. And I could slip in undetected and not have to have that tap or that ask of intimacy that I would have to make a decision to begrudgingly accept or reject. And so I don't know if you've ever felt the feeling of lying next to someone and feeling completely alone. That's where I found myself. And I was lost, and I did not know how to fix it. And so that's where my journey began. And in intimate conversations, once I revealed my own truth, I recognized how many women were living similar types of things. And this movement is about decompressing and recognizing the part that I play, the part that you play in that unsettling and that unrest. And so then I learned about body triggers. And so as we talk about the tax, I don't know if you're not connecting to this at all, but one of the signals also is, what is your body telling you? And Soraya, what I found is that in research and personal experience, I haven't had all of these physical symptoms, but I have had some of these physical symptoms. And so I want to ask you guys that are watching, if you are having uterine pain and they don't have now this could be other things, But if you've been tested and there's no like medical reason why, this could be a sign that you are running your life in what we call the masculine energy in the drive win state, which is common and necessary for us achieving women. And so I was having this low uterine pain. You might have a lot of stress and strain in your shoulders or your neck. You might take a lot of antacids because you're constantly dealing with that. You may have some numbness that starts in your left side. You might struggle with a lot of headaches that are unexplained, not from allergies, etc. So these are some of the body triggers where your body is going, hey, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're not living the way we're supposed to be living. And now I work very closely individually and in groups to help women unlock and unwind and relearn some of those things that we and still achieve in the process. And this is what we're calling releasing the taxation that is often applied to winning.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I mean, you're describing where I was. I was in a place where, and I was separated, and I didn't know where to go. Right? I didn't know. All I knew is I needed to survive, and I went into survival mode, and I went into fending for myself and fighting for myself and struggling for myself. So all of this constant way to only survive. And through that, what I found is that, yes, I was depleted. I was angry. I was sad. I was sour. I started to get really bitter about it because of the way I saw my marriage going. And I didn't know what to do with it. So all I knew was to, like I said earlier, is to hide under the blankets because I couldn't find a solution. And it's very interesting what you mentioned about the masculine energy, because that's been my own journey. And if for those of you that are listening, you probably don't know this about me. You probably do if you've been to one of my retreats. But when I was at 6 years old, my dad left. Actually, when I was about 3 or 4. And I started noticing when my dad would pick my older brother and me for the weekends that I started noticing a pattern, and is that he would prefer my brother over me. And at first it was not noticeable, but children do pick on all that is going on, right? We might not as children be able to put things, and there's something that is going on that doesn't settle, that is not right. And when that happens, and when that happened for me, is I started wondering what's happening, right? My daddy is having more attention towards my brother. And through whatever a 6-year-old can think, I remember the day God revealed to me, the day when I was 6 years old. And I started asking questions. What is it that I need to do to get my daddy's attention? And what I came up with was, I need to be a boy. Because if I'm like a boy, then I'm going to get the attention that my brother gets. A day, I hung up the girly stuff. I cut my hair. I started wearing pants, and I went and played with the boys. I lived with my cousins. So it was like 10 children under one roof, and I play only with the boys, marbles, climbing trees, baseball, everything that looked like a boy. That's the identity that I created. And I fast forward to what you're saying is, I realized 4 years ago, that I was so much running on my masculine energy, and that energy that was draining me, that had me separated, that had me wanting to control the situation in my marriage, and so forth. So that's, I hear you.
Yeah. So if you've got this type A part about you, if you have a tendency to love to win more than you, and I used to even almost, how do I say it? I'm just going to say it. I mean, I used to discriminate against women that were too girly, like, oh, she's flighty, she's sharing her body and she's too sexual and she must have low self-esteem because she's swaying her hips and all these things that would demoralize it. That's such a societal brainwashing that we have that goes really deep, and we won't get into that today from my research of why we do that. But the fact is, we can all identify with, at some points, discriminating against a girl being a girl. She's too much. Stop being, don't jump so much, don't hop so much, don't skip so much, don't giggle so loud, don't oh, don't sway those, don't do the bottom shake, like straighten up. And so these were all societal messagings. And it wasn't until it took me a full year, Soraya, to even realize that I was feminine at core. And really, we know now, we didn't know as a little girl, but your dad just didn't know how to parent a girl. Like he didn't know how to relate to a girl. And so then we interpret that, right? And so now I know today that I am feminine at core, but it took me a full year. And so if you're watching this and you don't know, like, am I masculine at core? Am I feminine at core? If you're a woman, you're not always feminine at core. You're usually, but you're not always. If you're a man, you're not always masculine at core. You're usually, but not always. Well, what does that mean? That means that your body, if you're driving, winning, in charge, making decisions, whether you're in the workforce or at home, I mean, stay-at-home moms, if you're running a tight ship, if you are volunteering, if you're doing any of the things that you're like handling the household and you're on top of it, you can be running in that same energy, that drive, that win, that linear thinking from point A to point B, which is absolutely something I adore, something Soraya, you adore, obviously. I mean, we love to operate something that is making a difference, that is achieving. But if you're feminine at core, what's going to end up happening is those kind of body triggers, or that thought in your head that I should be happy, but there's something not right here. Mm-hmm. And if you're having any of those thoughts, you're probably not recognizing the base need that you are biologically designed for. And that is to be free and flowing sometimes. And if you're firstborn, you have a double-edged sword, because you're a rule follower and you're used to being in charge. And if you marry somebody who was not a firstborn, you're more taking the helm, because you guys are both used to that on a subconscious level. And so at the end of the day, every woman at their feminine core wants to win and has a need to be held. We have times that we need both. We don't know how to call that out. We don't even know how to articulate it. And now we're miscommunicating to our partners what it is we're crying for. And so then you can end up in one of two things in your relationship, which could be, if you've got a really, let's say, I'm just going to say man as for ease. If you have a primarily masculine man and you're coming with masculine energy, the one you need to win, but you're using that in your relationship, you can end up with one of two things. Either you got a super nice guy and he's like, oh, honey, whatever you want. Sure. He becomes the pleaser. He says yes all the time. He's trying to make you happy. And then you're like, God, I don't know what it is, but I don't want to have sex with this guy anymore. I'm not attracted anymore. Why? Because you're not attracted to feminine energy. You're not attracted to a woman if you're with a guy. Or you're with this guy, he's coming at you, you're coming at him, and now you're both fighting all the time. But guess what happens? If you're primarily feminine, you lose even when you win, because we walk off the battlefield carrying it, because we weren't built that way, and they walk off letting it go. Yeah. And we're in these toxic but societally acceptable relationships that are good enough but not good enough. Mm-hmm. Not for people that want the highest level of living in all aspects. And that's what we're working to get for each other today. That's what we're calling out in you and saying, you don't have to live with the taxation of not hitting all areas on enjoyment.
Well, it's very interesting what you're saying, because I've realized for myself, on my journey, that when I learned, I didn't know, I wasn't aware that I was running in more of a masculine energy. I was doing life the way that I learned. I was doing the best that I could with the resources that I had. I had to fend, right? I had keys to my house because I lived with a single parent. I had keys to my house when I was 11 years old. That meant I had to go out and come back and go to school and come back and move myself around.
Yeah.
So with that, I learned to survive. I learned to move. So that was a double-edged sword as well, because then it became something that you're talking about that is hidden, and I'm going to bring it up, which is I became to the place where I said, you know what, I don't, I don't really need, I don't need a man.
Yeah.
I can do it myself. Why would I need a man? But it's not really that I didn't need him, is that my biggest fear, which was men leave. Why? Because my dad left. So that fear was going underlying. Men leave, men abandon, men
Yeah.
do this. So me wanting to protect myself and always, what the mind does, right? What we learn is the mind is always trying to protect us. So
Mm.
for me to protect myself, I was putting a big guard around and saying, I don't need men. It's not that I yearn for them. I yearn for a partner. I yearn for somebody to be in my life. I yearn for love. And what I thought that the tax that I was going to pay was going to be higher, because it takes me to another window bringing it, which was my self-esteem. My
Mm.
self-esteem was so very low. I didn't love myself. Why?
Mm.
Because I thought of this little girl that was not good enough,
Right.
that her daddy would stop, right? So the first question I asked was, what do I need to do to get my daddy's attention? The second thing that I started listening was, or I started questioning myself when I saw that I still didn't get his attention, was, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
What is so wrong with me that
Yeah.
my daddy doesn't want me? And then
Yeah.
I equivalent that to men. Men
Yeah.
don't like me because the answers that I came up with to the question is, what is wrong with me? Is, well, I am ugly, I am
Mm.
uninteresting, I am
Mm.
boring, I am not good enough for my
Mm.
dad to stick around.
Mm.
That's the problem with children, right? Children do not have the maturity or the ability to think that it has nothing to do with them.
Right. Well, children automatically, and if, as a parent, like yeah, let's put an exclamation point on that. Whether it's between the relationship between the two of you, or they're watching something between the parents, or at school, or with their friends, they automatically blame themselves. That's what a child does. That's what psychology has shown. Like, it's natural. As a child, you would not have blamed your parent. You would have blamed yourself.
Correct. So I wasn't thinking, well, it has to do with two adults that have their own issues. It was everything about me. And then
Yeah.
the meaning that I create around that, it's because of me. Now I am growing up. Now I'm translated into relationships, and my ability to relate to men, to marriage, to relationships and it goes unnoticed. It's in your subconscious, but I didn't see it. I couldn't pinpoint it. I just simply was always having. And the reason I know I felt like this, I felt ugly, I felt boring, and why would a man would say like this, is
Mm.
because it is written on my journals.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so now, thank God and thank you, Lord, for the freedom to understand. Well, it didn't have anything to do with me, and now I can own the beauty and learning to be the aspect of falling in love with the yumminess that it is being a woman, of being feminine. That I don't need to protect myself when there's a freedom in love, when
Mm.
I can own who I am, and as
Yes.
a girl, and even though, like you say, I can make things happen. I now do it from my own feminine, and I now respect the masculine energy,
Yeah.
and men, and I actually bring the best out of them because I've learned to do it
Yeah.
versus
This
me.
is about inviting and not fighting. That's what the feminine gets to do. We get to invite. And if you feel like you're pushing through life, and you're not attracting it to you, that's another sign that we're in the wrong energetic state. Yeah. Um, if we don't get to the core root of where our confidence is lacking, that that is like a magnet to everything we don't want in our lives. I mean, I can't tell you how many women ask me, well, how do I tell me the formula? There are no good men out there. How do you attract great men? And so if you're in that place, let's say you're in a place of openness to somebody else coming in your life, um, as a partner, and you're feeling like there aren't any good men, or you're not able to attract them, or you're even afraid to, like you were saying, Soraya, then that is a sign also that we've got to get into the root cause of clearing the cobwebs of where the self-confidence was damaged, either at home or in another situation. There's a lot of situations. We all have things that have happened, and how we interpret it is everything. And so you want to get with a coach that will help you dig the root and reframe it into an empowerment state. And then once you become the person, the first thing to do to attract what you want is to become what you want. But we get stuck in that. Well, what does that mean? How do I do that? And that's what great coaches, work with people on doing. And when you say you're running like now in feminine, Soraya, I'm curious. I'm going to share a technique if you don't mind, but I'm curious, how are you running in this feminine state and inviting? I'm sure they have questions of that. How do you go from a masculine win to a masculine/feminine?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very loaded question, because we can be here for 3 days talking about it. But I will tell you what I found is that, okay, I'll pick one of the ways, and the main way is that more of the masculine energy runs on the doingness, on the going, getting it, like you say, point A to point B. Give it to me, let's do it. Type A personality, directors, lions, let's go, right? That is very masculine trait. And what I've learned for myself is to be into the beingness, into spending time with me, thinking, being in the presence of God, being in the presence of learning simply to love myself, to soften my heart. I'm actually working with one of my clients in coaching, and she was having a lot of conflict with her husband, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and he's not up to par, and he's falling short here and whatever. And I said, okay, let's do something. Let's go revisit that moment that where you saw that happening, and think about it afterwards, and then now relive that moment. Think about it before, but then get to that moment and soften your heart at the moment, instead of going into fighting mode and this is going to get happen and you're not seeing it, that you're not being. Is like, soften your heart, soften your heart, and see what you'd have done differently. So I'm giving you the short of hours and hours and hours of learnings, of trainings, of seminars, of studyings, of researching. And that's one of the techniques that I work with women, is soften your heart, because when you have a softened heart, because that's part of the feminine traits, is allowing it to be soft. And when you connect with when you connect to the source of your creator, and when you're in peace and you're soft, then you're operating from a different energy. You're operating from, actually, your tone of voice changes, your tempo changes, because you're not into boom, go mode, fight or flight, and so all the adrenaline going on, which is what causes us to be in our masculine. So that is a tiny one, but that's what I do. I see myself in a different light. I compare myself in pictures and videos and podcasts that I do when I soften, when I become from a soft place, and that becomes very inviting, because that becomes magnetic, versus the push is like a pull, versus the I need to get this done is I'm surrendering to and I know I have the power and the feminine that is going to happen. It's a different power, and it works. It's amazing and it's beautiful. And for example, with my client yesterday, she was telling me, I have seen so much of the change, because we started doing this about a month ago. And she said, I had the best Sunday with my husband in 11 years.
Good.
And that is that's the compliment.
Self, and things can change. They don't always, but they really, really can.
Absolutely.
How much time do we have left? I thought, can I share this one tip, or
okay,
over time?
And share it. And if you have questions, if you're listening to this, if you're signed up on Facebook or you're listening to this podcast, you can write and ask questions. But let me see if you have any questions.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming with you. Like, you've had tons of training, and this is 800 hours of immersion training podcasts. books, things that we can dig into, lots of nuggets that for today. It's hard to stay, send
I
a
know.
certain amount of time. Okay, so I'm just going to give one. So I'll piggyback on your tip. I love that, softening your heart. Um, One thing when I was first starting the practice, was when I would leave my office. Now I had an at-home office, so if you're driving home, it could be you do it from driving home. So when I would, before I would enter the house from my office or from your garage or from your front into your front door, I would do a body trigger. And so when you're there's a different way you walk when you're on purpose about getting somewhere, to when you walk when you're not, when you're in the feminine flow. And so I would intentionally start to walk to the door, swaying my hips. And hips is a big feminine trigger. And if you don't know where your hips are, start to practice it. Like, I've even coached women where I have to actually push their hip because they can't find it anymore. So if you're by yourself, push your own hips. They're so locked up. You want to move that on your way to your door. And then I would literally just, feminine is also about enjoying the little things in the motion. So like when I take the straw, instead of like that, it would be like, I'm gonna really like feel the straw in my mouth. So little things that remind you, hey, enjoy this for a second. But I would move there, and then I would, before you walk in the door or out your door, you just kind of do a personal check of yourself. And breathe where you can feel the air, like, okay, I'm going to take a delicious breath right now. An intentional, delicious breath, and push that air actually out and through your female extremities. And then you can walk in the house. And it's amazing what changes about your energy when you do that. I would also recommend that you go to your room if you can. And if you can physically even change, and if you don't want to change, you can do one song. So you go to music and close your eyes and go without judgment to what your body responds to. So there are some songs that I listen to that I'm like, oh, ooh, the words, I don't know that. Ooh, I don't know about that. Like my mental, moral compass would say no, but I learned from a teacher to listen with my body only and see if my body wanted to do something. And if your body wants to do something, let it do it, permission, free of permission, free of inhibition. And so I would just recommend that you go then to a room, or before you leave that office, you go, before you enter the world of your responsibilities in the next phase of your home, take a minute to listen to that 1 3-minute song. And if you're changing, take it off like kind of like I mean, you're by yourself. It's all right, like a stripper would. Like, just really enjoy taking it off for those moments, and enjoy putting the next whatever on, or pretend you're taking it off. And there is a physical manifestation that will begin to take over, and you just simply showing up with that radiance, as men would describe it, or as women would even describe it, you showing up with that radiance because you've called it in that moment, is an inviting stance.
Absolutely. I'm simply imagining it, and I'm loving it. And there's so much that we can do. Actually, if you're listening to this, I'm going to give you a heads up, because Roya and I are going to put something together in the form of a retreat or something, and we're going to go through a lot of this together. We have such a compound of things. I've seen my own life transform. I am not the same woman I was 5 years ago. I'm not the same woman I was 4 years ago, when I really understood the power of being the feminine. And there is so much that you lose when you don't. So I want to go back, not that I want to take away from this that I'm enjoying so much, but let's go back to what you were saying, the tax that independent women pay. And I'm going to say what I was paying and what I see other women paying. And one is that we are tired. You were saying you feel the stress, you feel this independent, AK, more women running on their masculine energy, are tired, many times lonely,
Yes.
and they are reaching, going on masculine diesel, and
Yes.
to a place that they end up saying, you know, I didn't really want it to end up here. We
Yes.
see it on CEOs, we see it on successful women. Now, are we saying women could not be successful? Absolutely not. But we're saying we have all that, but there is such
And
a different power.
and more. Yeah.
Yes, and more. And I remember I was listening to actually my mentor, who she showed me how to be in my feminine. She said, I was talking to this guy in Australia who was he was the biggest music recording publishing artist, and
Mm.
he recorded big names, and he was this amazing guy, actually platinum partner with Tony Robbins. And he was saying, he said, you know what, I can negotiate all day, and I negotiate hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts and the whatnots. And he said, but, but if I have a feminine woman on the other side of the table, I'm done. I cannot, I'm done. It's a disadvantage. I am a disadvantage because she's
And
so
then we're
feminine.
not even talking about her being sexual.
No, it's just
Talking
that she
about her
owns
being
that internal beauty of that, maximizes that the masculines are so drawn to, that he said, I'm going to give her everything she wants. I am a total disadvantage.
We're not talking about this or that. We're talking about and. We're not talking about ors. We're talking about we get the and as a feminine.
Yeah. So many women have it that if I'm feminine, I'm going to be weak. If I'm feminine, I'm going to be taken advantage of. If I'm feminine, it's going to be like yuck. And that was my story for long, and I didn't even realize it until I started learning and seeing how much I enjoy being with myself now. When I used to avoid looking at the mirror. I used to despise the mirror.
Oh.
I would go by. I have a cousin. She's very pretty, and she was always looking and doing. Oh my gosh, I hated her. And then me looking at the mirror, it's like done. I would go do my hair in the morning and put whatever. I'm done. I don't look at it myself
Wow.
again. So now I'm into a different entire journey where now I look at my videos, I look at my pictures, I look at this, and I've learned to fall in love with the woman that lives inside here. I've learned to embrace a little girl that once felt lost, felt rejected, that felt the whateverness. It doesn't matter. Now it's like she's my baby. And learning to doing that has really freed me. So now I see it, and I'm in love with that. And when I love it, there's just so much greatness because it flows. If all we need is love, and we start loving ourselves, then we're flowing and we're creating that, and then it sparkles, and then it's like a fountain that it splashes even to other people. So if you're a woman, you're a man listening to this, show this to a woman that you appreciate. If you're a woman listening to this, you gotta know, girl, if I want to show you, we want to show you what I learned the hard way and I didn't know. And is that I didn't need to continue running. Part of my marriage um, going down is because I didn't know what I know now, right? I've become a coach as a result of me finding answers for myself.
And then you'll attract more of what you want. You'll attract that.
Yeah. But I remember my ex telling me, yeah, he would say, you're not going to control me. And I'm like, I'm not trying to control you. And I didn't ever understood that conversation. But now through all of this, through the light of this, I can see it so clearly. And now that's why I empower women. That's what I work with men. Like you said, you can have a feminine man that he becomes a pleaser. And then the only problem, well, not the only problem, but the main problem with that is that the woman will despise, even if it's a strong woman.
Because then she also has to stand up more as a masculine, which she is
Exactly. There has to be the polarity. There has to be the masculine presence. So women, especially moms, if they don't see a man rising up, taking the stand, owning his power, they're going to do it. But then they're going to resist him because he's letting go. I always say there's three. Well, I got it from John Elrich. He said there's three kinds of power, and there's the abusive power. There's the power strength that I call it, and then the third is the passive strength. Is I see.
That's the one.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And
a lot of us are afraid to to kind of be softer, Soraya, and that's because we have been for centuries taken advantage of for our softness. And so there is a genetic and a personal fear of letting go. And so I just want to remind you guys that the feminine is surrender with boundaries. The with boundaries is really important. You get to choose who you surrender to. You get to choose when it happens. You get to design the boundaries. And we are the queens or the kings, but the feminine of redirection, because we have this holistic view. So if our guy is off track, we get to redirect and set them, boom, in this course, or even ourselves. So that's why we get the and bridge when we are an achieving woman. We get the it all portion. And I think we have so much to say. I just wanted to kind of close with this when you were saying about looking in the mirror and wanting to not look at it. And I think we all of us can relate to that, Soraya. Everyone can pick apart things, and I can look at you and go, my gosh, what would you ever find? You're so beautiful. You have these luscious lips. You have these perfect big eyes. Your hair is like a dream. It's a Vidal Sassoon commercial. I mean, your smile, like, what could this woman find? And what's what we look at when we see other women? We feel that way, and we find the flaws in ourselves. And so I just love starting with the thought of when you're putting on your mascara or your lip balm, whatever it is you do, because she does not mean having to do your nails and your makeup like I like to do. Maybe you like to toss your hair in a bun and wear sweats and no makeup. It's about that embodiment of that love energy. And so when you go to the mirror and you brush your teeth, thank you for the hands. I love these hands that can hold a toothbrush. I love these teeth that allow me to chew my food. I love the lips that let me talk and say I love you to my children or to my parents. Thank you. I love that these eyes, because they let me see the world and take in the beauty of that tree today. So if you can't love what it looks like yet, you can love why you have it and what it gets to, what you get to utilize it for and how it's serving you. We can start with that love embodiment, and then you can pick one thing like, you know what, I actually do love the color of my eye. So starting with small appreciations grows into self-appreciation, which grows into confidence, which creates attraction that we're all looking for. So,
oh my gosh, so much to talk about, so much. So, and unfortunately, time is running against us. But if you want to learn more, then reach out, stay tuned, leave it in the comments, drop it in the comments and say, you know, I want more info, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out personally and say, here's some more info, and we're going to put you on a list of this is when we're doing our next event, and you can come, because we can spend days into transformation. That's what happened for me. I went into an event that I had already gone to a ton of Tony Robbins events, which are awesome and I love. And when I walked into an event that was only for women, designed for women, learning to own their feminine, my life was changed in a different route. I had already done a lot of personal development, but when I learned about this, I ended up on the floor crying for about an hour and a half, realizing that I despised that little girl because she couldn't hold her dad. And I was that struggle. But when I let go and I was like, freedom came, that is a beautiful day. So we want to do that as well for you. But if you're listening to this, then we're going to invite you to stay plugged, stay connected. There's a lot more where this came from.
Yeah. And you can find me at I'm sorry, you want to.
Yeah, I said there's so many hours of flight put together amongst all of us, and you want to draw from that, because we want to give it to you. So that was my next point, is where can they find you? And it's going to be also in the comments here as well. But where can the link is going to be there. So where can they find you?
You guys can find me at she-nest.com on a website, she-nest.com. Subscribe for any details that you'd like to have in the future of things that we do. I've got some blogs, and I have 7 ways to unlock your feminine for free when you subscribe. Also, you can find me at Sheena's on with no dash on Instagram, Sheena's Tribe on Instagram. I just opened just yesterday. TikTok. Just. And so Instagram, Facebook, we have a private group in Facebook called Sheena's Tribe where we have a weekly speaker every Wednesdays just to give back to women supporting women. So I'm in my DMs all the time on Instagram. So if you have a specific question, I'd love to serve you.
So
and I'm so happy we got to partner here today.
No way you can miss out on Roya because she is accessible, she's available, and she wants to work with you. And you can find me on the link here at sorayaldana.com. And I am also going to invite you, men, women, is if you want to elevate your life, I am doing a masterclass, a workshop where we're working with you, where you actually grab a pen and we work with you constantly. So the next one is this Saturday. This Saturday we're having a workshop, and let's get to elevate it wherever you are in life. Let's find out what's working, what's not working, and why are you having the results that you don't want, and why are you not having the results that you do want. So we're going to take a closer dive in that.
And you've had great transformations with people, Soraya, which is amazing.
Yes, thank you. Yes. My clients are experiencing transformation. Thank you. That's a horn I don't usually blow, yeah. But yes, I've got the testimonials, and it just warms my heart because that's what I do. Because I've done it. I mean, I have mentors, I have coaches, and thank God, I am nowhere where I was 6 years ago, and I am in a different place. Now I can take people and say, let's go up the mountain. It is possible. It is joyful. It is a life of fulfillment because 99% of people do not live fulfilled lives. So let's cross the bridge to the 1%. The link for the workshop is here, and I'm starting a 7-week course to elevate your life. We're going to talk about your identity. Who do you believe that you are? What is stopping you from having those results? Your identity. We're going to talk about the habits, success habits that are going to take you. And they're so deep, so yummy. We're going to be talking about the reason why that is not allowing you to get the goals that you want, the results. So all of that is a 7-week journey. I'm going to grab you by the hand, and I'm going to take you there. So that's it for me. I want to also invite you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and look forward to our next episode because there's always something here for you where you can take your life from where it is to where you want to go, where you can design a life that you love. And Roya, I don't know if you have some final words for us that you want to say before we dismiss.
Oh, well, just breathe, sister, breathe, because you are on the brink of the best that's yet to come. The next layer of your life is just a stepping stone for the next. It can just get better. Remember, it's never what happens to you, it's the interpretation that you give it. And so from one sister to the other, we empower you to discover the best and juiciest and most delicious meaning. So if today is the beginning of an awakening, congratulations. If you're in the process, congratulations. If you're already there, sister, lead some other sisters because we need each other. God bless you. Thanks for being on.
Thank you. We'll see you in our next episode. Ta-ta.
You have the power to change in an instant.